Hey, it's Tyler with T-Mann Tarot, and I am back with another tarot deck review. And friends, today, this one is complicated for me. I have had this deck for a while. I've used it on some of my lives, and it is Fifth Spirit Tarot by Charlie Burgess. And they have created... I'm going to say they've created a beautiful tarot deck. First and foremost, I fell in love with this deck just by the cover on the box. I looked it up and fell in love. This cover that's on the box is the Lover's card, and we will dive into it. But the back, it's Tarot Beyond Binaries. The tarot thrives in liminary and nuance. The more we work with tarot, the more we realize that everything is fluid. Gender, meaning, even time. We're all creatures of earth, air, fire, and water. Bound together by the fifth element, spirit. This deck expands notions of gender through the juxtaposition of traditional titles and queered imagery. I encourage you to queer your practice by listening to your intuition, your personal symbolism, and your own lived wisdom. Now that's queer. Now, some of you might have watched it. If you haven't, pause this video and go back and watch the queer or the gay tarot deck review that I did. That one was a complete miss. This one does that for me. This deck does that for me. It is queer inclusive, it's body inclusive, it's there's also people with different disabilities, skin tones, all of that. And it is just very comforting, in my opinion. There are some technical things with it that it's my kind of not my favorite on some things, but for other people it might be totally okay. Like I think the card stock is too thick. The deck now mind you, this deck I have altered, I have cut off some of the top and the bottom of the cards. I was trying to make this deck more comfortable for me to use, and in a way, I've kind of butchered it. So the card stock was something that I wasn't a huge fan of. There's also one card that I think is kind of a miss for me, but it's a total artist choice to do it. But let's continue. It comes in this lovely box that can be used to carry the deck. It also has a chunky guidebook, which is so lovely. When you open the box, on the inside of the box, that's the inside of the top of the box, and it says, "May this deck guide you to your truth. For where you find your truth, you'll find your power." Love that. And on the inside of the box where you get the cards, once you kind of take them out, this is the inside, and it says, "A queer and inclusive deck for a world beyond binaries." Beautiful. Love it. And there's things on... Ooh, something is in my eye. Gotta love it. All right. Sorry, friends. You get to see kind of the imagery of kind of some of the things that you'll find on all of the cards. So it is great. I love it. So let's crack open the book. There's a dedication to the queers and outsiders, the survivors, and everyone making magic from the margins. There is a note on gender and inclusivity, about reversals, about making your language inclusive in your tarot practice, about scrapping the feminine and masculine duality. Don't assume. Do we have anything about the author here? About the creator. Charlie, they, them, is a queer and trans non-binary tarot practitioner, writer, artist, and deck creator. Charlie is the host of the World Witch podcast and teaches tarot workshops online in Portland, Oregon, where they live with their spouse, Erin, and a staggering number of houseplants and fantasy novels. Same, plants, love it. This is Charlie's first deck, and they are currently working on 2 more. And you can go to theworldwitchtarot.com for more. All right. It said, okay, I wanted to read this because it just, think beyond the binary. Normally, thinking isn't just about gender. When we think about binaries, we recognize that there are more than 2 options, that those options aren't normally exclusive, and that perhaps they're not even opposites at all. We can apply this to most any binary, masculine, feminine, good and bad, right and wrong, happy, sad, strong and weak, logical, emotional, us, them. When we embrace non-binary thinking, we recognize false dichotomies and understand that all of these are a spectrum, or even something less linear, like a color wheel. Non-binary thinking is a rejection of absolutes and the embrace of the cyclical and tumultuous, dyslexia for the win, and the innate complexity of living, which is, by the way, pretty much the moral of the major arcana. Let's try that again. Non-binary thinking is a rejection of absolutes and embraces of the cyclical, the multitudinous, and the innate complexity of living, which is, okay, cool. So, like, understanding that I like that it's cyclical. There's also the fact that it's fluid. Things can ebb and flow. It's not always so concrete. Think of like wet cement almost. Forget the shoulds. We don't do shoulds in this household. When we read for ourselves, the hardest part of overcoming our sociological programming is the voice that says you should. And I catch myself doing that all the time in my lives, right? I'll find myself doing, you should. And I go, well, no should, right? This is the voice that says you should date the opposite sex, should choose a traditional career path, should be skinnier or smarter or less boring or less emotional. It's the voice that tells you what you want or what you think you want because of what has been told to you before you get a chance to decide for yourself. If you can learn to identify this voice, then you can start to heal the conditioning and figure out what you really want, what you really believe. So, who you really are. That's the whole dang point of reading tarot. Love it. Finding out who you are. Tarot is a tool to understand what is going on in your world. You also have some spreads here. You have the 5 spirit spread. Everyone's a little queer spread. And then goes into understanding the cards and what they mean. This is a beautiful deck. Let's talk about the Lover's card. Now, this is the Lover's card. That's what drew me to the deck originally. So let's kind of read the description of the Lovers card. The Lovers. The title of this card brings to mind romantic love, but the Lovers is actually more about choice. Bing, bada, boom. Love it. Right off the bat, we talk about choice. The choice to know yourself, to love yourself entirely, or to change yourself for the love of others. From birth, we feel pressure from family, peers, school, religion, media, all pushing their values and standards upon us. In the midst of all the noise, it can be hard to distinguish the sound of your own authentic voice. It can be harder than to follow it, especially when it goes against the desires and expectations of others. But the Lovers counsel you not to mold yourself to the standards of others because approval is not love. Instead, dare to be different, to defy expectations, to disappoint. Embrace yourself in all your brilliance and depth, all your virtues and vices. Look to your shadow and follow it into your self-discovery, for love is unconditional. If not, it is not love. This act of self-loving is also the first step of embodying your truth. Be brave enough to choose yourself. And I kind of love this card because it took the idea of, right in the Rider-Waite-Smith, the one that we're all used to. Let's see if I can find it quickly. The angel and the two individuals, kind of the man behind the burning tree and the woman with the tree of knowledge behind her staring up at the angel. It took that from kind of a right, this is the Lovers card in the Rider-Waite-Smith. This is Fifth Element Tarot Lovers. It's embracing the internal love for yourself and kind of being your true and authentic self. I love this interpretation of the card. And I love both of them, but this one really hit home to me in choosing to kind of embrace yourself. I do wish that it went into more of the symbolisms that they have put here. You still have, right? You still have here, you have the fire and the flame. You do have the tree with the fruit. You have that imagery, but you also have the Gemini, wish it had about all of the symbolism. So you do, if you can see, there is the Gemini and the element symbol there included. I just realized that there is a snake tattoo. Like, you get all of the similar imagery from here in all of the details. It's beautifully done. Let's do... And when I was putting these back in order to make the deeper dive, closer inspection of the cards, I remembered why I loved this card. Three of Swords is another one of the cards that I've gone to, and it takes the romance out of this one. And I love it. It's an anatomical heart, which I think it is a brilliant choice to have that. Let's do the Three of Swords. Swords. All right. Famously called the Heartbreak card, this one's pretty wince-worthy. It marks some source of pain, grief, or disappointment, but it doesn't have to be a new one. Sometimes the wounds have already been dealt with, but we're not letting it heal. This this is swords after all, suits of the mental realm. This anguish is felt in the heart, but it's affliction by the mind. Ooh, I love that wordage. Oh, that's great. This is anguish. I'm going to say this again. This anguish is felt in the heart, but it's inflicted by the mind. Oh, that is a good one. This card is a tough loop of what. Ooh, this card is the thought loop of what you wish you'd said or done differently. It's dwelling, obsessing, resentment. It's shame. It's self. I don't know what that word is. Okay, dictionary time. It can also be the opposite: denial, avoidance, masking the pain with substance or distractions. This is a call to pay attention to how your mind is getting stabby with your heart and hindering its healing. It's time to remove those pointy thought swords, clean the wounds, and find your thread. The mind can be a knife or a needle. Let it sew you up again. Okay, that is, again, it's been a while since I've read this book, and this is just a beautiful interpretation of the card, and I love that it's saying it's the mind's affliction of on the heart, which is lovely. So let's talk about the Sun card. Now, the Sun card has always been my signifier since starting tarot, and my one kind of, oh, I wish you didn't do that, is the Sun card. The Sun card, the creator decided to put themselves and their partner on the card. I understand their intention, but when somebody puts themselves on a tarot deck, it feels self-fulfilling. It takes it out of wanting to be able to read for a client because they don't know these people. They don't know the individuals on it. So that way they don't necessarily see themselves in this scenario. And I don't know, it's not, to me, it was like, oh, you almost got it right. You just missed the mark. I just wish that you didn't put yourself on the card. That's my biggest thing. Something that I'm not a huge fan of, but it is still a beautiful illustration. Let's read it. When the sun appears, it brings light, warmth, and vitality to everything it touches. In a reading, the sun describes an experience of being wholly your authentic self with ease and joy and no apologies. The moon's shadows have been integrated, and now you get to enjoy the moment of rightness and bliss. The sun also speaks to visibility, as in being seen and appreciated by others. It might coincide with success, recognition, and a celebration that has you all aglow. Or it might be quiet, private, and simple. A day when your outfit has you feeling fly as hell, or 20 minutes spent dancing with your favorite tunes, or a leisurely afternoon in the dog park, when for a time all feels right with the world. When the sun appears, it brings a spiritual knowledge that we are alive and a part of the interconnected cosmic ecosphere. The ecstasy of this card is the cell deep knowledge that we are each as right, worthy, perfect as the trees, the animals, the sun, the sky. I love it, and I get the moment of joy in the simplicity of what the sun is. I just wish that the illustrator didn't put themselves on the card. You could have put other people. It's just, don't put yourself on the deck. That's just my 2 cents. But it is beautifully stunning. I love this deck. I might need to fold this back into rotation because, again, the cards on the deck were so moving, and they still are. You will see why. My friends, a closer inspection of 5th Spirit Tarot is coming up right now.